Hello loves, and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be wrapping up 2023 with the best in manga and graphic novels. All year I have been adding a tag to the graphic novels and manga that I read, and I did an export from Storygraph to group together the series that I read. So this isn't going to be the highest rated individual volumes, it will be the average of each series. So we will be going through all of the series that I gave over a 3.75 rating. The first one is Bloodstain by Linda Sejic. This is the story of a young woman who has a degree in science and is struggling to try and find a job when she ends up applying for a research assistant position to essentially this mad scientist, and she ends up having to move to his creepy manor to help him out. And this comic is very endearing in terms of the characters. I read the first 3 volumes of it so far and I've really been enjoying it. So if Mad Scientist with Heart of Gold is your vibe, I definitely recommend checking out Bloodstain. The next highest rated series for me in 2023 is Crowded by Christopher Sabella. This is a future sci-fi-esque story about a world where you can crowdfund assassination, and this one girl ends up having I think it's like $2 million bounty put on her head that is crowdfunded by the people that she knows. So she hires a bodyguard to help protect her. So I thought that was a really cool concept. And then the characters really brought it home for me. There's queer representation as well. I thought this was a really cool concept that was executed fairly well. The next series also got a 3.92, and that was Elvira comics. So I read volume 1 and 2 of Mistress of the Dark, and then a second, more standalone comic. If you are a spooky season fan, I'm sure you're familiar with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. There's a couple movies, and she is honestly an icon, and I really enjoyed these comics. I was obviously reading them for Elvira, and I think they did a really good job of bringing in some fun other characters and doing something unique. So I really did enjoy the Elvira comics, so I would recommend checking those out if you are a fan of Elvira. If you aren't familiar with her, I do recommend checking out the movie first. The next one I was on the fence of including as a comic, graphic novel, manga, but it does have drawings and some kind of limited words, so I am going to include Effin Birds, A Field Guide to Identification by Aaron Reynolds. I actually picked this up at a comic convention. Each page has a drawing of a bird and then some profanity. I had fun with this, taking it at face value of what it is. It's pictures of birds with profanity. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and some of them have kind of longer descriptions of different types of birds, and I also got this signed by Aaron. He called me a dipshit. It was great. So Effin Birds, if you're just looking for something fun or maybe a joke gift for a friend who likes birds, great pick. The next comic that I really enjoyed this year was Eat the Rich by Sarah Gailey. This is kind of a classic setup of the woman who's going back to meet her boyfriend's family, and they happen to be very rich and wealthy, so she's intimidated by having to meet them, with the added layer of them eating people. I really liked this one as a joke on Eat the Rich, and I thought it was really well done. I do love an Eat the Rich concept. The next series is Alice in Borderland by Hiro Aso. The series starts with our main character who's kind of a slacker and isn't really contributing much to society, and then one day there's this freak storm and him and a couple of his friends end up in Borderland, where once per day they have to participate in a life or death game in order to extend their visa. If your visa expires, you die. And there's different types of games. Some are more mental, some more emotional, some more physical. And as the manga develops in terms of story. It originates focusing on him and his story, and as it goes, it kind of expands to a lot more characters. And I am just so hooked on the concept, and I really want to see where it ends up. Each of the games, I'm so interested in the rules that the games have come up with, so I highly recommend that if you are a kind of battle royale fan and want something that has deadly games and also some clever world building. Next made it onto this list, and I have only read one volume, so I would have to kind of go back and read the rest of the series to know how much it deserves it, but it did hook me in with the first volume, and that is Babyteeth by Donny Cates. This is your classic Antichrist story, and I thought the art style was really cool, and they did a great job setting up the premise, so I will probably have to go back and see if there are more volumes of that, since I did really enjoy the first one. We have the Heathen series by Natasha Alterici. This series is about a Viking woman who has been exiled from her family and her clan, and she goes on a quest to free a Valkyrie to restore honor and to push back against corrupt gods. The art style was really cool, the plot was really cool, and the characters really drew me in. If Norse mythology is your thing, I recommend checking out the Heathens series. The next is Spy Family, a very well-known manga. I'm only 4 volumes in at this point, but it is amongst the best I have read in 2023, so I will be continuing to read that throughout 2024. Our main character is a spy who needs to go undercover as a parent of someone at a school, but being single and childless, he has to find a fake family. And he ends up adopting a little girl who he doesn't know is a telepath. And then the wife that he ends up choosing turns out to be an assassin. So you have a spy trying to hide his spy things, an assassin trying to hide her assassin things, and a telepath who knows both of those things but doesn't want anyone to know she knows. It has a really cool setup as a premise, but then it focuses on the relationship dynamic and less on the drama, and it's just so adorable. I read a lot of dark manga, and it's nice to read something kind of light and fluffy every once in a while, but still with a little bit of drama and stakes to keep the pace moving along. Next is something that I picked up at the very end of 2022 and had read the rest of in the beginning of 2023, and that is Fence by C.S. Pacat. This series is about a high school fencing team and the relationship drama, and fencing is always something I wanted to do. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. Maybe sometime in the future if I can find somewhere that does lessons. So I initially picked it up because it was about fencing and I thought that was cool. And then the relationship drama actually drew me in, and I just care so much about all of my children. So I think there's another volume of it coming out at the beginning of next year, and I'm so looking forward to that. If you are looking for sports anime vibes, I would definitely recommend Fence. The next manga on the list is something I never would have picked up myself, but a friend and I were doing book club by mail at one point where each of us would pick a book and then make notes in the margins and then switch them back and forth. And my friend found out that I had never read any manga before and decided to make one of her picks My Brother's Husband by Gengaro Tagami. So the setup of the plot is there is a Canadian man who was married to a Japanese man, and when the Japanese man passes away, the Canadian man travels to Japan and meets his brother and their child. And at first, the Japanese brother is not very accepting of the fact that his brother was in a gay relationship, and then they kind of grow closer over the progress of the story, and it really is about confronting your own bias, and I thought it was really sweet and really heart-wrenching at times. So if you're looking for something to make you cry but in a good way, My Brother's Husband is the way to go. Our first 5-star of the day is Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson. I have been following Sarah Anderson's web art for a very long time, and I was very excited to pick up a published book all about cryptids, which is a topic that I love learning about, and this book was just really cute, so I had a good time with it. It's not anything too serious, it's not anything too plot heavy, it is just some cute doodles of some cryptids, and I gave it 5 stars. I had fun with it. The next 5-star graphic novel for me was Blackbird by Sam Humphries. In this series, there are different cabals, is the term they use, of magic users in this city, and our main character's sister is kidnapped by a magical beast, so she has to go to all these different groups to find out who is responsible and how she can save her sister. I thought the art style in this one was stunning. I enjoyed the plot, I enjoyed the characters. Overall, just really in my wheelhouse. So I would definitely recommend if you like stories about magic and secret societies. Another 5-star for me was The Adventure Zone, The 11th Hour. I am a McElroy fan, so the Adventure Zone podcast, especially the Bureau of Balance arc, absolutely loved it. Listened to it multiple times. I even cosplayed Merle at a convention this summer. So, of course, I gave 5 stars to The 11th Hour, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for the Suffering Game being next. This is volume 5 of the Adventure Zone. It's a graphic novel of the McElroy brothers' Dungeons and Dragons campaign, their first campaign, and it has a really cool art style. Carrie does a really great job with it, and I feel it does a really good job of preserving some of the original goofs and jokes from the podcast, but throwing in enough new stuff to keep you interested even if you have listened to it 1,000 times. Listen to the podcast, read the graphic novels, Adventure Zone. And the final 5-star graphic novel for 2023 was The Complete Mouse by Art Spiegelman. This is a graphic novel about the author's father's experience as a Jewish man in the Holocaust. So it is a very serious story, and there is a bit of metaphor as the Jewish people are depicted as mice and the Germans are depicted as cats. And I normally don't like to read that much about World War II. Having gone through history class, they usually spend so much time on it that I don't really engage with it outside of that. And I thought this was so well done. It had enough historical basis to understand the surrounding circumstances, but was really a very personal story that drove home the magnitude of what happened. And I'm like choking up talking about it. I'm pretty sure most people have read or even heard of it already. If you have heard of it and haven't taken that plunge to read it yet, I highly recommend you do. I think it is one of the most important pieces of graphic novel probably ever published, and I think it's a really important thing to engage in, especially recently with how global politics have been going in recent years. I think a reminder of what has happened in the past is important in this day and age, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Oh, ended on a bit of a serious note there. Hopefully you found some new graphic novels and manga you might want to take a look at. Leave down in the comments down below what the best manga or graphic novel you read in 2023 was, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!